Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Talking Triathlon, the podcast that couldn't think of a better name, so literally just put what we do in the title. I am Tim Ford. That is James Bale himself. Mate, how you going, Jimbo?
Good morning, mate. Yeah, I'm well. I'm well. I'm really well. I'm still living out a bit of a holiday process at the moment, having come out to the continent. So I'm still in Europe, not in my normal routine. So I kind of forgot we were recording this morning, had a bit of a lie-in, got up in time, smashed a cup of tea, and here I am, ready to roll. But normal service will resume next week when I'm back in the UK for a prolonged period of time. How are you, mate?
I'm excited about the prospect of getting a fully charged James Bale because I know that normally in the past when we record for my summer, your winter, it's your evenings, my mornings, but it's the opposite now. So I know that we're going to get 100% Bale. So guys, you're probably going to have to turn the volume down on your
Yeah,
listening device.
brace yourselves. Brace yourselves. It's like a tsunami. The
I can
sea is
feel
withdrawing at the moment, and the big fucking wave is coming.
I can feel the presence on the screen coming at me. No, all good here, mate, as well. It has just been, I always feel really guilty to it, but it's just been a very busy day. And I am quite happy that we're sitting this. I really like that we've moved the recording a couple of days forward. Having said that, last week was the week where we decided that, Wednesday is a good day for us to record this podcast moving forward. And what happened? The
Oh, we
fucking
triggered the curse instantly. Instant triggering of the curse. It was yeah, it was almost to the second when you released the podcast that the news
No,
came
not
out,
even
mate.
more than after we recorded because I think we recorded on the Wednesday. So for a good day and a half, knowing we were going to put out an episode that just didn't talk about the biggest piece of news that happened. Do you know, it's like, this is a slap. Maybe we should move the. No, I actually quite like having more time to get everything edited and stuff. So this is an offline conversation. People listening to this don't care, do they? So
No,
let's
no,
not
they
bore
don't.
them with it anymore. If you do want to understand what goes on behind the scenes, get a bit more of an inside scoop, all that stuff, you can head to patreon.com/talking triathlon where you can join the WhatsApp group. You get Strava group, all that stuff. You get the bonus podcast where we do tend to have a few more of the offline conversations that we do. James
It's
Bale,
all in there.
let's.
It's all in there. And we've got podium finishes in there, haven't we? We period podium finishes from this weekend.
We do actually. We definitely big shout out to Emil Holm, one of our Talking Triathlon patrons who finished third place in one of the pre-series races, which we will talk about later. But I think that people have gone over a week going, we can't process the information until we hear what Tim and James think about it. So we should put them out of their misery and let them know, James Bale, that Ironman came out last week and confirmed that from 2026 they would be returning to a one-day World Championship race on the island of Kona in Hawaii.
Yes, and it's a strange sensation when that news came out because um, old me would have been very disappointed because I've always thought, get it out of Kona. Have Kona as this illustrious race we go back to. I had my every 5 years type thing and then rotate it around the world, change the venue. But ever since they moved it out and we've had some fantastic races in Kona, whilst other races outside of Kona in Nice have been fine. I've kind of been hankering for them to return to that one day format in Kona, where the men and the women race on the same day, on the same course, at the same time ish. And that's what they're doing. And they it was a very coordinated strike, wasn't it? You had this news came out, and then you had all these responses from different pros online putting on their Instagram accounts about how pleased they are. It was all very stage managed, which is a good thing, I suppose. You want that news to come out in a positive fashion, and I feel good about it. I mean, there'll be people out there that have a negative feeling towards it, but I do, on the whole, I feel good about it. How do you feel?
One of the things I have said on this podcast for a very long time is I'm always happy to be proven wrong. It would be a very, very boring podcast if you were constantly just, scared of ever saying anything that people would disagree with. Again, it's something that I'm working on, but uh, I'm
It's
happy
an
to
echo
admit that
chamber, in it? In this podcast, just our own little echo chamber.
you sometimes forget until people get the shits at you. But I am happy to be proven wrong here because I was quite vocal about thinking that it was a good thing for the world champs to move to Nice, and I think very much like yourself, I look, it's a complicated. I'm very, very happy about this news. I think it's excellent. The biggest thing I'm happy about is that it's the men and women in the same venue. I think the separation of the two was the biggest mistake that IMM made around this change. I still think that it was worth trying. Uh, yeah, I think this is really, really positive. I do have my feelings are slightly more complicated than that though, because I still think, I still think that there's more that can be done in terms of Ironman to just to, like my struggle is that Kona is so good and you know you see such incredible races and so much good stuff. I just wish we got it more than that one time a year. And I still believe, I still personally believe, and again, like I said, my own opinion, I don't think it's the world title that makes Kona Kona. I think that you could take away that world title, that world championship name, you could take it away, and that race would still have the same fields. It would have the same interest from amateurs to attend. Like I think that there'd be so much buzz around it. Like I still think you could have Kona and make it the same October. Everybody knows Kona is you know it's Kona. It's the Ironman Hawaii, like the Wimbledon of Ironman, and then have another world championship rotate, kind of like what 70.3 was. I understand the logistics of that would be difficult, but no, in terms of the scenario we had and the scenario we have now, I think this is a great decision. And I mean, you're right. You made the point earlier, right? The last two, in particular, Konas, we saw the women's race where Lucy won, and then the men's race last year with Patrick Lang, are two of the best Kona races we've had in a really long time. And you know, how could you not watch that and just be like, God, this is good compared to, again, not that Nice were bad races, but they were certainly not nowhere near as exciting as what we saw, you know, in the women's race. Laura Phillip just destroyed the field, and then Sam, you know, was miles ahead and sort of just held on. So I think that it's a good decision. I'm still not convinced it's the final answer, but I'm sure many people will disagree with me on that. But I think it's a very, very good solution, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, one of the major positives I took from being at that women's race in Nice was the freedom to race without being sort of encumbered by the men being on course. When I saw the two leaders of the women's race come off the bike and run onto that empty course in Nice, I got a real sense of how important that was for women's sport and women's triathlon. And this isn't a solution to that. You know, I feel like you're stepping back a little bit, but there are plenty of pros in the women's field who want to go back to that one day of racing with everybody on the same field. So it's not a universal push. I just really enjoyed that moment because
Mm.
I thought, you know, they had the course to themselves and it was all about the women on that day. So there's that angle for it from me. But now we're going back to this one day of racing. It is becoming again more of a festival of triathlon. And what you didn't have on that race I attended in Nice was huge crowds. It didn't feel like a festival of triathlon. It felt like it was slightly underwhelming. And what I'd quite like to get back to capturing is that feeling of the intensity of that one day of racing. I think that's a good thing to be going back to that. I don't know what we do. Like you say, I don't feel like it's the final answer. I think other changes will come. I'm also interested to know what's been happening behind the scenes. Have they
Well,
been? I mean, obviously they've been talking to the council on Kona, all the people, the officials who are in charge of this. I wonder how the local community are going to take it.
I tell you, yeah, I'm not trying to put that to one side. Let's put that to one side because I think it's an interesting thing to discuss. But I mean, I guess we'll just wait and see. I think the fact that it's one day, not two, probably shows that's probably that give and take a little bit. And I yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing that I'm very impressed by with this whole thing is, and again, I'm just going to start by asking you a question: is does Ironman feel like the same company to you that it did 2 years ago?
No. No.
And I think the reason, because it certainly is a no for me, and I think that is the new CEO Scott Deroux. Like the fact that they've come out and they've been so open with the reasoning for this, and that, like I just feel like, and again, I don't know Andrew Messick, but it doesn't seem like that older version of Iron Man would have come out and admitted that they'd made a mistake and changed back, they would have gone like they would have either doubled down or they would have come up with some other, I don't know what it is. Whereas he's come out and been like, hey, we listen to you guys. This is what you want. We need to, you're our customers, you're important to us. Let's listen and let's correct it. I mean, some of the information they put out, like, I don't know if you've gone through the posts or the press release they put out, but one of the really interesting things they were saying was that by making it possible to race a world championship that wasn't Kona or have this separated, both the men's and women's races, it was easier for people to qualify for a world championship event. And what this meant is for a lot of athletes who would like get to a world championship, race it, tick the box, and they'd be walking away from the sport, they'd accidentally shortened the life cycle of a lot of triathletes, which meant, we know that most triathletes tend to stay in the sport for 3 to 4 years. Some absolute psychopaths like myself have been around for a lot longer than that, but they'd inadvertently shortened that lifespan, which I think is obviously bad for Ironman's business. So I really appreciate the fact that they've been so transparent in this, in their thought process. Yes, okay, it was we've heard whispers of this for what feels like 6 months, right? But
Yeah.
at least they didn't. I feel like it's very refreshing to have them come out and go, yeah, it didn't work for us, right? So we're not going to push forward with something that we know doesn't work. You have spoken, we have listened, we're giving you what you said you wanted, and I really appreciate that from this organization that I think has quite a bit of a history of maybe not being as willing to listen to their customers, and I just think it's a very positive. Just feels like a different company to me.
Yeah, agreed. And I hope that stream of honesty and continues. I'm intrigued to see how this goes now. I think I think there had been a lot of feedback that was positive for the split, but I think there had been more that was negative. I
Mm.
think it was making it, I always said Nice was a great place to hold a world championship for Europeans because it'd be easier to get there, etc., etc. But you've got to remember with triathlon families, a lot of people within the sport is very participant based still. You haven't got roving groups of fans who just want to go and watch triathlon. Most people that are going to a triathlon are going because they're doing it. A lot of couples that are going to a triathlon are doing it because both of them are doing it. When you've got a split world championship, if you've got some kinos who are both qualified for men's and women's, then you're making that going to both world championships a very costly endeavor.
Speaking of triathlon colours, I actually had a moment today when I was swimming that kind of like warmed my heart. I was swimming, doing a whatever 3K set. And I was getting towards the end, and I don't know about you, but when I'm swimming, I'm quite aware of what's happening around the pool. And I saw this couple. I assume they're a couple, a man and a woman walk in, and I noticed the guy straight away had an Ironman finish, like a 70.3 finisher shirt, and I was like, and I'm always like, yeah, my man, like good to see another triathlete. And it was so good to see this pair go down the end, put their stuff, get their swim bags, put their swim bags at the end of the lane. They both put their 70.3 swim caps on, and then do like start their swim set together. And it just made me think. Again, I assume they're a couple. I don't know, but I was like, oh, I actually really like to see that they've got like this. Even if they're friends, it's like they've got their little group that they're doing this sport with, and I thought that's a nice thing to see. They'll probably eventually train to an Ironman together. But you could see the pride they had their finisher shirt, they had their backpack, they had the swim caps. And I'm like, yeah, I remember what it was like when I, first started doing the sport and how proud I was of it. And it was, yeah, just a really nice little,
Yeah,
positive little
that's
moment.
what the sport's all about, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bringing people together and getting people to do races. And I think this move for a minute will heighten that. I think I think we will see, and it like our man said, if it makes it easier to qualify for a world championship, having it split, we need a bit of that world championship qualifying feeling being really important and hard to attain back, I think.
I also think that like I'm going to be in Nice this year. I know you're coming. I'm still really looking forward to going to Nice again this year for the World Champs. Like I've enjoyed my time there. I think it's been a great place. I am sad to see. I mean, the other part of this news that we'll touch on now, I guess, flows into is the fact that they've also announced that Nice will host the 2026 and 2028 70.3 World Championships as well. So that's kind of like the consolidation prize, which again I think is great. We've seen some truly exceptional 70.3 racing happened. That was the year that Gustav won. You know, unknown Gustav, won the race and stuff. So I think that's also quite a good consolation prize, I guess, if you want to say it. So it's not like Nice is done. I think Nice has such a special place in triathlon, and it truly is a great venue to host a large scale triathlon. Like, I'm very excited to go back
Yeah.
there in September.
I mean,
So
you've been there, haven't you? You've been to Nice when the men's was racing, and it
yeah,
is a very cool place to have a world championship, and it's a lovely place to visit as a venue, as a place to be. You know, the sun, the sea. It's an amazing part of the world. I just really don't think, in the long run, splitting the men's and women's championship
agree,
worked.
agree. I mean, that's the biggest mistake I think of the whole thing.
Yeah,
Um, And again, it's a whole chicken egg thing, right? I understand the increased desire to drive female participation numbers. I think that there are other things that they could probably do. And again, I still think if they need to make the fields the same size, yep, okay, I'm okay with that. I don't, I can understand people that say it should be based on participate. I can understand both arguments, but I still think that I do hope that they still are factoring in things to try to increase female participation. I think that's a little
yeah, yeah,
addendum I'd
totally.
like to add. So. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
the funny thing about the Curse of the Triathlon podcast, or the Curse of the podcast that we spoke about last week, was obviously about the fact that they announced Kona being the World Championships. We didn't really get too upset about the announcement that followed the next day, which felt like it did feel like a little bit of a response to the Kona announcement. And that is, of course, the fact that the T100 are coming down under in March next year. You've seen this news, mate, that there's going to be a T100 race on the Gold Coast next year?
yeah, yeah. I assume you're going to do it, are you?
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Gold
Yeah.
Coast isn't close. Like
Yes,
that's
yes
like
is the answer to that, mate.
it's
You are a
it's
roving correspondent
it's
down there. You got to
it's
get
a
out
long
there and
way away, mate.
experience it.
It's like 1,000 kilometers away. It's not like it's just down the road. It's
Just
still a
just pop
significant.
over, just pop across and do the race. You'll be all right.
Uh, I did find the timing of this a little funny, and I don't. Again, I don't know, but it did kind of feel like Ironman's getting their moment. T1, oh, look at our thing. I just want to say and again, I know people say I'm critical. I do have one problem with this. So the date's confirmed 21st, 22nd of March. I do not understand why a race on the Gold Coast. Gold Coast is a place in Australia. So it's in Queensland. It's right on the New South Wales Queensland border. Beautiful part of the world. Like really, it's wonderful. But it is a place where you could host a triathlon 52 weeks of the year. Literally every week of the year, you could hold, even in the middle of winter, Queensland, it's still 20 something degrees. You could definitely hold a triathlon. So why have they chosen to hold the race the same weekend as Geelong 70.3 and Hell of the West, which is a fantastic local event, not that far away from the Gold Coast. That was the one thing where I got getting excited. I'm like, also, and then I saw the date and I was like, for fuck's sake, do we have to do this again? Can we space them out? Like, I don't understand why this always seems to happen because Australia in particular has lost a lot of our pro races or just, race options. Ironman and 70.3 is on the same day a lot of the time now. So the fact that they've now got two races on the same day, I just felt was a bit unnecessary. But let's put that to one side. Let's talk about the good part of this.
Yeah, more races, mate. More races and more races in your part of the world. And, irrespective of what people's thoughts are of the T100 Pro side of things, more people get to experience what is a really, really high quality age group experience racing a T100 race. I've done it and I'm going to do it again. It is a race experience that is worth paying for. And we get additional pro racing, and I'm interested to see how it rolls out. What's your thoughts on a race in that part of the world at that time of the year, other than the fact it conflicts with an existing race?
I mean, brilliant. Like
Because
I
I
said,
I don't really
you
know
could
much about the Gold Coast.
you could put the Gold Coast is fantastic. There's been races there a lot. I'm up there a couple of times a year anyway. It's fantastic. They say the swim's going to happen at the beach. That's the one little I'm like, is it? Because a lot of the time the surf gets pretty wild out there, and I know a lot of swim events. Like even locals I've already spoken to have been like, there's no way they're swimming. There's no way they're swimming at Main Beach. Um, Interestingly, the amateur race is in a different location. The swim in particular is in a different location to the pro race. It's so there's been some really big triathlons that the Commonwealth Games has been there, the WCCS Grand Final has been there. It's a great location. I I mean, I heard what you were saying though about another race and people get to experience it. I just think though that with the power that Ironman has, putting the race on the same weekend as the first 70.3 of the year in Australia in Geelong, which is a very iconic race in this country, I wonder how many people are going to do it. Like, I just feel like surely you'd set yourself up for
Yeah, agreed.
success. I just think it's a
Agreed
very,
that.
I don't get it. It's
Yeah.
the one thing I just don't get.
Even if you had it 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after, that would give people an opportunity to do one or the other, or go on a two week holiday and do both.
Well, that's what I was sort of thinking, right? Imagine if you had it, yeah, a week, 2 weeks before. You could have so many of the pros down in Australia do Geelong, which would be great for the Geelong race, do the T100 race, and then even because what's Singapore's April, then just stay and go to April, and then you're in Singapore. Like to be honest, that's probably why they've timed it this way. I just again wish there was a little bit more thought given to some other, I mean, yeah, I don't know. But no, the very long way of answering your question was I think this is a great place for a race. The Gold Coast is such a good spot for triathlon. You can literally have whatever you want. If you want to have a flat, fast course with some, you can do that through some of the residential areas or on on one of the main roads. If you want to go hilly, you can go the hinterland of the Gold Coast is like seriously hilly, mate. Like you could make a very, very, very tough course if you wanted to. Weather's going to be perfect. Yeah, I think it's a great spot for a race. Like, yeah, really good.
That's what we want, mate. That's what we want. More races in good places.
And again, I expect it to be a pretty good field as well. So, but I mean, it's also good just to see that they're continuing to expand. So, we're going to have even more races next year. Yeah, I love what they do. So, yeah, it's good, brilliant stuff. Where do you want to go to next, Jimbo? What do you want to talk about?
I think we should have a chat about another podcast, mate.
I think that is a really good idea. And we actually meant to do this last week and we forgot. And we spoke about it on our bonus podcast. But yeah, do you want to take the lead on this, mate?
Yeah, I am Talk is released their last episode this week. Now they've been going for bloody ages. They were the first triathlon podcast I listened to. They were probably the first source of media other than magazines where I got any information about triathlon from. And in my opinion, they were absolute trendsetters for rolling out triathlon news in a podcast format. Without question, they set the stage for the rest of us to follow over the years, and it's a real shame that they're going away.
No, I'd like to echo everything you've just said. They were not only the first triathlon podcast I listened to, that was the first podcast I ever listened to.
Same.
To be honest, it was the only way you could really follow the sport that wasn't magazines. When I first started doing, I think I started listening to I'm Talking 2013, to be honest. They're gone for 19 years, mate. Like they've literally been going for nearly 20 years of doing the podcast. And Bevan James Eyles, one of the hosts, hasn't done triathlon in God knows how long, 10 years, 15 years or something like that. So, I mean, I really, I think that the sport owes them so much gratitude because they are probably a reason a lot of people followed the pro side of the sport. I can't emphasize this enough to people. Like there was nothing. There was magazines, and that was about it. It was, you wouldn't even really have proper race coverage, and you'd have John Newsom and Bevan James Eyles every single week would get together, and they would just talk about the races. And I was surprised at how much this announcement hit me, actually, to be honest. Like when it was in our WhatsApp group. One of our patrons let me know, and it really sort of hit me. And like again, to be honest, I haven't listened to I'm Talk for a while, as I've been quite vocal on the show. I don't really listen to much triathlon media just to again make sure I don't repeat other people's thoughts. But I did go and listen to a few episodes, and it was so nice. I was surprised at how it just instantly took me back to a part, like a part of a time in my life that I remember very, very fondly. And to be honest, I'm probably going to go back and listen to a lot of their episodes, I think, because they have just done such a good job. And I really think that everybody who likes pro racing, whether you've listened to their show or not, like they owed your gratitude because they have given a platform for so many pros to be able to grow their profile and to make people be able to follow the sport. So I just want to say thank you to John and Bevan for
Yeah,
doing such an
totally.
amazing job.
And it's kind of like a comfort blanket, isn't it? Because it's an echo of a simpler, friendlier time, a time before the internet had gone completely off the rails and everything's about conflict and drama and reacting to things and what this person said and what we're going to say to this person. Say they stay out of all of that because they were before all of that. They never got down in the weeds with anybody. They just do what they do, and it was a really nice way to follow the sport before the internet became this wild west of nightmares.
I can also tell a couple of, but the first time I ever did podcasting, which was also probably, man, honestly, probably 10 years ago at this point, I had a podcast with a guy called Mike Robinson, who's actually Kiwi, and it was called Think Fit. And we were very determined not to be a triathlon podcast, even though both of us were absolute triathlon frothers. And I know that one of the first guests we got on the show was Bevan. And I remember being so excited about the opportunity to talk to Bevan because I'd listened to him on I Am Talk for so long. And then this year, when I was in New Zealand at Ironman, Bevan was the announcer at the finish line. And I was obviously there with Joe and Mike after they won. And I did take a moment to go and shake his hand and just be like, seriously, Bevan, I'm a huge fan. And I was, again, so excited to see him. So no, I'm
What was his
very,
response in that moment?
I mean, he's such a nice, positive guy, right? Like he was so interested and he was so grateful. And he, again, one of the things I really love with is, they instantly make it about you. Like, not that you're there, you're so excited to see them, and they're so interested in you. And yeah, he's such a positive guy. Uh, I was talking about the Johan Hari interview that I've heard in his podcast, and he was so fascinated by that. And yeah, the guy's a
The
legend.
reason
So.
his podcast with his interview with Johan Hari was was an absolute trigger point for me. It made me go and read those books. It made me go and listen to more interviews with him. It
Yeah, same.
was magnificent.
Yeah. So again, very, very huge thank you to both of them. Congratulations on almost 20 years of, nearly 1,000 episodes of the podcast. The sport is a worse place without you guys in it. But what do you always say that we stand on the shoulders of giants, and these guys, I think, are the podcasting triathlon giants. So yeah,
Did you ever
just
get a
thank you.
nickname, mate?
I think I did. I do think I did. It was something to do with cars because I'm T Ford. So I can't remember, but I'm like 99% certain that I had one. I don't think I think the fact that they went with the car probably annoyed me. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, another car joke. Because you may not believe this, James, but I've actually been, people like to make jokes about the fact that my last name is the same as a car.
Oh, try growing up in a rural agricultural community with the surname Bale, mate.
You
Yeah,
know, when I played cricket, like speaking of nicknames, when I played cricket, they all started to call me model. And I'm like, guys, like I feel like obviously, like I know I'm a very good looking man or whatever. And they're like, no, 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 shut up.
Model
Model
T.
Model T. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Love
The
it.
other one I do is somebody will
Love
go.
it.
So again, for people don't care about this, but I'm doing it anyway. There was a very famous brand of car in Australia. I don't think it exists anymore, but it was called Holden. And back in the day, there was the two main. It was Ford versus Holden. They were like the two rivals, and people used to come up to me like, what sort of car do you drive? A Holden, and I'd go, oh, because my name's Ford. Like, brilliant. You're not gonna. Nobody's ever said that to me, but I actually can't believe that nobody's made that link before. And they'd be like, "Oh, what the fuck has happened?" Like, and I just go like, "Seriously, I should get a hold. That's actually a really good idea because nobody would expect that. Everybody would expect me to have a Ford." And you could see them like start to back away and slowly regret their choice again. This guy's. So yeah, I've heard this joke 1,000 times. Anyway, nobody cares about nickname jokes. But again, I'm talking. Congratulations.
There you go. Kia Kaha, motherfuckers.
Kia
Bow
Kaha,
wow.
exactly right. Kia Kaha. Let's talk about now. There's two things to talk about with the next section of the podcast. One of them is extremely positive, and one of them is extremely negative, and they both revolve
Yeah.
around Hayden Wilde because on the weekend, Hayden Wilde had two amazing things happen. He ran an insanely fast 10-kilometer race, possibly the fastest 10 kilometers ever run by a triathlete ever. I think off the top of my head, it's 27:49. I will check that when you start talking. And then he
27,
had
27:30.
9?
No, no, hang on a second. Uh, he he smashed his personal best to finish seventh in a time of 27:39,
I was
just
10
missing
seconds
out on
off.
breaking the New Zealand national record by 20, which was 27:28. So he's 11 seconds off the New Zealand national record for 10K as a fucking triathlete.
As a track, like, so I think it's possibly the fastest 10K ever run by a track. Like, it's diabolical how fast that is. And then unfortunately, the next day he's had a very serious bike crash, which has led to broken ribs, something going on. I think a
Yeah.
punctured lung. He is not in a good way.
No, it's really bad news. I woke up to that news and instantly was well, I felt sick to be honest. Hayden's someone that we both know and we both got a lot of time for. Um, and the only glimmer of good news is that he posted that himself,
Mm.
on his Instagram account, which means that it wasn't he wasn't out for the count and maybe he was at least the dangers to overall health had passed at that point. But he wrote on his Instagram, just thought I'd update you to all. I've been in a bike crash, broken four ribs, scapula broken, injured lungs, surrounded with the best help. Keep you posted. Pretty gutted after such a nice day yesterday, which is terrible, terrible news. Obviously, it sounds very, very serious. I hope his recovery is quick. But recovery is what he needs to focus on, making sure that he's tip top before trying to do anything other than focus on his recovery.
Well, the fact that he also can't even leave Japan, and again, I know that what people like often with rib or lung injuries, it's the pressure change. So you can't
Yeah,
fly because you can't have that pressure change. It can cause some real serious issues with your lung. But scapula is your shoulder blade. Like that's a pretty is that right? Scapula is your shoulder? Yeah, yeah. Is it?
yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah,
I think so. Or yeah, clavicle is your collarbone. Um, doesn't like yeah, it's horrible. And again, I think that this is again, you never like to hear somebody has something bad happen. Hayden is somebody that we both have a lot of love for. And looking at the starts of the season he had, like we were looking at on the the verge of something really really special. Which I mean I don't know, like ribs can be a really tricky injury to come back from because it's not just the actual healing. Then you've got the associated, like I still have issues from a rib injury a decade ago, and that was it was two. So I really hope that he just heals quick. I hope there's no complications. I just want to see Hayden back to doing what he does best, as quick as possible.
yeah.
So
It's never good when someone has a bike accident, and it's never good when it happens and results in broken elements of their body and injuries that keep them in hospital for a prolonged period of time. So we've got to send our very best to him. But that 10K he ran, mate, fucking hell.
it's you talk about the great rivalries in the sport, and I think we're going to look back on the careers of Hayden Wilde and Alex Yee as one of those great rivalries. And this is just to me like another step in that thing because you have Alex Yee go out and absolutely crush the marathon like 2 weeks ago, and then Hayden's like, hold my beer. I'm going to go out and
Yeah,
nearly
yeah,
break the national record for 10K. Honestly, and look, I understand that there's been changes in technology and shoes with stuff, and but it is so impressive. It's not even the fact that it's just
yes,
good for a triathlete time. It's the fact that he nearly broke the national record. Like Hayden is such a good runner, and this is such an impressive result. And I personally, like, I didn't even realize this. I was so focused on the crash that it wasn't until yesterday I even realized that he'd done such a good fast 10K. And I don't want to. This isn't about diminishing what's happened to his injury. I want to make sure that this result is celebrated because it truly deserves to be celebrated. Like we said with Alex Yee, it showed just how legitimate triathletes are as, world-class athletes at all three sports. This is such a good example of that. Hayden is such a great ambassador for the sport. He's showing the world just how good we are. Not us, not me and you, obviously, but triathletes
that's
are.
nice of him. Get
Yeah.
out there and show the world how good we are.
I'm so impressed by this result. And just the year he's having where he's gone, he's won a WTCS race. He's absolutely destroyed the T100.
Yeah, he won the Antwerp 10-mile race in Belgium the weekend before he went to Tokyo to do this 10K.
Yeah.
And, the winner of the 10K clocked in 27:10, Jamal Yaima of Ethiopia, which is fast. But Hayden's only, he's only 29 seconds off that, which is remarkable if you think about the margins between people who focus on running only, pro runners, and a triathletes coming in 29 seconds back, almost beating the New Zealand national record for 10K. And that would have been set by a purest of
Runner.
pure runners. So yeah, good on him.
Well,
Good on him.
remember that.
It's a crying shame when I look at the news reports that you've got Kiwi Hayden Wilde smashes 10K record, and then the next box next to it is Kiwi Hayden Wilde in horrific bike accident. Because you're
Yeah,
like, oh, firstly for his health, but secondly for what could have been this season.
I know. I mean, I even remember wasn't there a point where he was even potentially going to qualify for the 5,000 meters at the Olympics? Like, maybe he was trying
Yeah.
to go for the qualify. I remember chatting with him. Like, yeah, I mean, again, I think it's just this rivalry between the two of them it's just this neither athlete's been left behind, right? And the fact that Hayden, unlike Alec, I mean, obviously the marathon's a slightly different beast, but the fact that he's doing this in between all these incredible triathlon results, like he's just the most versatile athlete at the moment. Like it is, we're so lucky to be in a period where Hayden Wilde is doing what he's doing, and yeah, just wish him the speediest possible recovery because I want to see him back out there doing it again. Um, yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. What's next?
What is next? We should talk about. Do you want to talk about Ironman St. George 70.3? St. George
Uh,
70.3 preview?
yeah, no, I think we've got some results to do first, haven't we?
Yeah, we can do the results first. Which one do you want to go straight into? I love the way having this, like, we're so organized. People are like, God, this is so amateur.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
The
know.
Venice race, Venice just solo or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
that's the one. Venice Jesolo results. Why have I only got those? It keeps telling me I'm blocked.
What are you checking? Where are you going?
I'm on Try 24/7 for the results, but it keeps telling me I'm blocked
Yeah, because
from accessing the site.
it's because you use them too much, mate. And they're going, this guy, honestly, he just literally takes advantage of our stuff all the time and never.
Absolute piss taker.
I've got
That's
the
what I
results
am.
here, mate. So we'll start with the men's race. In the men's race, we had in first place a. Oh my God. Why? This has just been you, a very complicated way of you trying to make me pronounce the names, right? This is what you've done to me. Because the male winner is a Greek athlete. Fuck. God.
Good luck.
I am so sorry. I'm so sorry, Mr. Bitados. Your first name is, oh God, Panagiotis Bitados. That
That
is,
sounds all right.
you've given me a
That
bum
sounds all
steer
right.
here, mate.
That's
Uh,
probably exactly how the locals say it.
Bitados won in a blistering time of 3:31 off the back of a 107.59 half marathon. In second place, we have Cameron Main. In third place, Emil Holm. Fourth place, Sam Dickinson. Fifth place, Jonas Schomburg. I will just quickly read the women's race and then we can talk about them. In first place, Solveig Lovseth with a 3:53.22. Second place, Lena. Yep.
Messina,
There's a German weird looking bee. Do you know how to pronounce that?
Lena Messina, I think.
Messina. Okay.
Hmm.
And then in third place, we have Emily Morier from France with a 401. So let's talk about. I don't really look to. I haven't watched his races, but I just know that I was tracking it because Emil was part of it. But Bitados 107.59, 3:31 is absolutely flying, mate.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? 107.59 is a hell of a half marathon. And 3:31:01, but only 6 seconds ahead of second place,
Yeah.
with Emil is slightly further back in third. So they had a hell of a race for first and second.
Look at the splits, mate. 21-minute swim, 157 or sub, well under 2 hour bike rides, and then both of them running about 108s. It's God, this sport is moving along, isn't it? Like this is just
Yeah,
absolutely mental. Oh man,
it really is. And good work, Emil, coming on the podium ahead of Sam Dickinson and Jonas Schomburg, two great athletes in their own right. Really good to see him up there.
I just saw. So there's another athlete who I didn't because we still got you've got Pierre Lacour in sixth, Rico Bogan in seventh. Pierre Lacour, mate, ran a 106.37. That's
Yeah,
absolute
that's
madness.
remarkable.
That's
Yeah.
absolute madness. But the main thing I want to talk about is Emil because Emil is a patron. Emil's a guy I got to know at Super Try a couple of years ago. I am such a huge Emil Holm fan, and I'm so happy to see him get this result because he has done a few races recently where things haven't quite gone according to plan. He's had a few, like I know that he was in Sabanias and he went a little bit too hard, and then the heat got to him. So we're yet to see him sort of get to deliver on what he has, and I think this is running a sub 110. Emil is a huge guy too. He's another one of these really big, tall Danes who can run like the bike like the clappers. Um, Looks like Emil can do it all, mate. He can run like the clappers as well. So just really, really impressive racing from Emil.
Yeah, good work, champ. Love to see it, and long may it continue. Let's take another step up the podium next time, and then find ourselves at the front, shall we?
Just it's again, this field is fire, mate. Like, there's so many decent names in this list. Josh Lewis is there. I saw Jan Stratman's there. Sam Dickinson. I'd like to see Sam get a wild card for T100 San Francisco. I think that it'd be interesting to put Sam in there. But again, we've got so many of these athletes now, former Olympians, and then you got Rico Bergen in seventh. So yeah, mate, the fact that the defending world champion, or not defending, sorry, the former world champion is nearly 4 minutes down, running a 1:15, and everybody else ahead of him is running 1:10 or under. Uh, they're all short course guys, right? Most of them, at least, they're short course
Yeah.
guys. It's crazy, absolutely
Yeah,
crazy.
Rasmus was meant to be racing, but he pulled out with an injury just before.
I saw the dramatic standing on the beach with a crutch
Yeah,
post. I was like, oh,
yeah, yeah.
and then I read, I was like, oh, at least he okay. Go home, get the test done, mate. I just want to also talk at the women's race again. I haven't followed it too much, but Solveig Seth, the Norwegian, I know is coached by Mikael Eden.
Yep.
Another short course athlete that we, seen do a lot. So to get to see her, really good split swimming 25, right in a 206 or 207 basically, and then running a 116. Like that's all. Like she's almost running as fast as Riga Bogan. Again, former 70.3 world champion. So really impressive race, and she won the thing by 6.5 minutes. So it was a bit of a domination. And
Yeah, it's well good. It's well
we're
good.
s- we're so focused on those Norwegian men and what they do. It's really good to see a female Norwegian out there flying the flag as well. So well done, Solveig. And again, all of them. Ayn Reichman was there in fifth place. Maya Stage Nielsen in sixth place. Didi Diedrich seventh. Uh, yeah, really, really good racing. Well done, ladies.
Good work all round. Love it.
What are we doing now, Jimbo? Do you want to go? Are there other results you want to talk about, or do we want to go
No, no,
to?
that'll do, I think, in terms of results that are significant. I think we should do a bit of a St. George preview.
So, St. George 70.3. St. George is a place that we have actually both spent some time at, mate. We were there in 2022 for the Ironman World
Yeah,
Championships. What do you think about St. George, mate?
I really liked it as a place. Um, I thought I liked the community. The people were friendly. They seemed really welcoming. They loved the fact that the event was there. I thought the bike riding in the surrounding area was spectacular. Nothing. I've ridden in some really wonderful places in my life. The Alps will always be my favorite place to race because it's my happy place. But I don't think anywhere has ever been as striking or as breathtaking as that cycle up through Snow Canyon and then down Snow Canyon. I just wish I hadn't been quite as ill as I was that week that we were there because I was really, really struggling to get out on the bike or breathe or anything.
You broke your derailleur too. Like you just had
I
the
did,
worst
yeah.
luck.
I had the worst luck because we went out, arrived there. I was going downhill heavily with some sort of coldy, fluey virus thing, and then I just had the week from hell with illness. And then we went out for a bike ride to try and see whether we could just explore the surrounding area. My rear derailleur broke instantly, and that was the end of my day. And it sucked. So I had to spend however many hundreds of dollars on a new derailleur, and then I managed to do that one Snow Canyon ride, but I felt dreadful. So yeah, sucked. But don't let that take away from the place because the place was amazing. It was a really dry heat as well, which I quite. It's the kind of heat I enjoy rather than a sort of a humid, moist heat which you might find in Singapore or something like that. This was a really a dry heat, so you could get out and suffer in it. I loved it, mate. I thought it was a really good place.
Yeah, again, I remember the first time going into Snow Canyon, and because it's quite weird, right? Where it's kind of like St. George, when you watch the race, it isn't what you expect it to be, right? Like what you see on the race, and then when you're actually there, it's two very different things. But when you get to Snow Canyon, it just appears out of nowhere. This suddenly you're in the national park, or you turn into the national park, and it's like, yeah, this is okay. And then you take that sort of that curve in the road, and you're suddenly into Snow Canyon, and it is jaw dropping. How it is one of the most like, is this place real? How good is my life that I'm here right now riding a bike in this place? It was exceptional. Yeah, I
Yeah,
loved my time at St. George. I had such a good time there.
Snow Canyon was triggering a strange response in my brain, and I remember mentioning it to you, and you were like, "Yeah," you agreed with me in the moment because it was almost like I was seeing what was in front of me, but my brain was telling me it was some kind of CGI creation from a
Yeah,
film.
yeah,
It was that strange and different to anything I'd ever seen before that it felt like I was in Jurassic Park or something.
yeah, man. Such a good place. I had such a good.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like. I think the Ironman, the 70.3 is finishing there, right? There's not going to be a race much longer. So
That's a real shame. It's a real
yeah.
shame.
Shout out to Jeff, one of our patrons who's from St. George, who always is so welcoming and has a lot of the athletes come and stay with him as a homestay. So, yeah, he knows that it's a good spot. Let's talk about the race because, mate,
Who's gonna win, mate?
fuck, I don't know.
Who have we got on the men's side? Sam Long, Magnus Ditlev, Lionel Sanders, Jackson Laundry, Seth Ryder, Jake Birtwhistle. On the women's side, Paula
Mate,
Finley, Chelsea Sodaro, Jackie Herring, Victoria Lopez, Lisa Beckera, jo- Jocelyn
Jocelyn
McCauley.
McCauley, yeah.
Yeah. Who else we
Laura
got?
Laura Siddle's back on there. Victoria Lopez, I don't know if you said her name. Simone Mitchell's back racing.
Yeah. Did I miss any
Any
men?
Yes, oh mate, you certainly did. Matt McElroy is there, Matthew Marquardt is there, Sammy Appleton, Mark Dubrick, Cam Worth, Justin Reilly, Matt Hansen, Nicholas Chase, Andre Lopez, Matty Sharp, Max Newman is really interesting to see Max Newman. We haven't seen Max Newman since the T100 last year, which he was atrocious. So I
Yeah.
know that he's had a long-term injury, he's had surgery to fix, and apparently was like rearing to go again. So if Max is back and he's ready to race hard, look out. But mate, again, you look at this. This is as good as 70.3 field we've seen. This is as good as a T100 field as far as I'm concerned. It's exceptional.
Yeah, it really is. And we've got the two on the men's side, two-time defending champion, Sam Long. Do you think he can do it again?
No,
Do you think that swim deficit is overcomable for him this time?
I don't think the swim deficit is going to be his biggest problem at this race. Look, firstly, Sam is very, very good on this race, and we've seen some very, very good battles with him and people like Lionel Sanders. I just think that he's not going to be doing, like, he's not going to be able to do just things his way, right? He's not just going to be able to race from the back because he's going to have a certain somebody who's going to be pretty close to him most of the day, and I think could maybe push him a little bit. I mean, honestly, mate, looking at this, there's so many different ways it could go. I think that there could be, with the swim power of people like Mark Dubrick and stuff up the front. Jake Burt we saw how good he was in Geelong. He was complete across all three disciplines. Mark Dubrick is such a good swimmer. Matt McElroy recently came second, I think, at that St. Anthony's triathlon behind Mark Dubrick. Sam Appleton is an incredible swimmer. Mate, it's really interesting. I think that you could see that group get away and stay away. It just is Lionel and Sam together going to do their thing completely, or is there enough power in that front? I don't know. I haven't even mentioned the big name there himself, the big Dane himself, Magnus Ditlev. Magnus is going to be getting out with a sizable gap over Lionel and Sam. He's not going to be caught on the bike, and he's probably not going to be
He's
caught on the
not,
run.
no. No, no. Indeed. I think the dynamic has changed significantly. Um, don't get me wrong, Sam Long might have his day, but like you say, there are people there that almost rule him out the race, in my opinion. Um, Ditlev, he's going to be swimming ahead of them both.
Yep.
He's going to be biking consistently ahead of them both, and it would take one hell of a good run from them to overcome both deficits in the swim and the bike to come anywhere near him towards the finish line.
Well, I think there's some things. So yes, he'll be ahead of them, but I think that I don't see Magnus swimming with the Jake Birtwhistles and the Sam Appletons and the Matt McElroys and the Seth Riders. Seth led the swim out in Oceanside, for example. Seth was right up there in Oceanside too. We haven't even mentioned Seth Ryder. So I think that there's going to be enough people ahead of Magnus that he's not going to be with the leaders, and he could end up being a little bit isolated. Yeah, but then again, yeah, I say that Seth Ryder did that in Oceanside, and Lionel still caught him. So I wonder if we're going to see like, are we going to see Magnus get out of the swim with a slight deficit, know that those guys are coming and try to catch up to the front and get to the front as quickly as possible, not let Sam and Lionel try to catch him? Or are those two going to know that their gap to Magnus isn't going to be as big as to the leaders, and they're going to kill themselves to try to catch up with him and work with him? There's the other problem as well is if you see Magnus, let's say Magnus gets up to the front and doesn't necessarily get away, is Magnus going to be able to run with the likes of a Jake Birtwhistle or a Seth Ryder, Marc Dubrick even, Trevor Foley, we haven't even spoken. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be there. I know that he had some issues in Texas, but there's just Max Newman. We haven't even spoken. If Max Newman's fit and healthy again, he could fucking win the whole thing. Like it's honestly,
Yeah.
I find this race of a lot. I know this probably. I don't know what to say. I honestly don't know how this race is going to go, and that's why I'm so
No, I don't.
excited about it.
And then you couple in the terrain and the heat. It's not a flat race, certainly not on the bike. It's not a comfortable race when it comes to the heat or the environment or the temperature. So that's going to have an effect on different athletes in different ways. So it is really is a movable feast in terms of how this one could shake out. I'm It's probably one of the first Ironman races this year I've been excited to watch if I can, as long as it's broadcast. Is it broadcast?
I tell you what, if you're interested in the broadcast, what I can encourage you to do is go to our Instagram account, hit the link, and sign our petition to get Will McCloy added to the Ironman broadcast. We're at just under 50 signatures, I think, at the moment. So let's get to 100. Come on, head over there, do it. Anyway, keep talking. It is broadcast. It's Pro Series, so it'll be broadcast.
Yeah, so it's a race I'm really intrigued to watch. I think there are so many dynamics at play. Um, and some even if I don't think he's going to win it, Sam Long will have a fire in his belly as the two-time returning defending champ, and so he's going to be racing his heart out. Lionel Sanders has proved that he's on form, and he's going to carry that enthusiasm from Oceanside into this, and so he's going to be racing his heart out. Not that he ever doesn't. And then you've got Ditlev, who is just strong enough to run his own race and be in a position where he could just win it running his own race without particularly having to race anybody individually. Go on, what are you going
Now,
to say?
I am curious because there is the man who appears on every start list, seemingly in the world at the moment, and that is, of course, Cameron Worth, the Australian.
Yeah,
If he's in this race, I know that we have this thing about Magnus being the best cyclist in the sport, but objectively, Cam Worth just rode the fastest Ironman split of all time. So Cam is obviously in red hot bike form. I feel like if Cam is racing and Cam is firing, like again, I've said this a lot, and I know you agree with me. The time that Magnus struggles is where he doesn't dictate, where he doesn't get to race his own race. Do you think a
yeah.
Cam Worth testing him, pushing him, not letting him just ride away from everybody, maybe sitting behind him and letting him do his thing? I know he's not going to be worried about Cam, but do you think he could be worried about Cam helping others inadvertently, coming from behind, pulling them up, that might change the way, maybe mean that Magnus has to do things a little bit differently to how he'd
Maybe
like?
make him push himself a little bit harder. Maybe the fact that Cam's there, maybe. Um, if I was Magnus, I'd rule Cam out of my head. I'd forget that he exists because I just want to entirely dial into my own race. Because, like you say, Cam won't be there when it comes to the run against Magnus. They could finish the bike at the same time, and Magnus would take him apart on the run. So you'd want to just compartmentalize that and just be like, well, there's someone else on this course that is able to match me on the bike at least, and just try and completely forget that that was happening.
I just have this vision, right, that you're going to have Magnus, I imagine, will be out of the water slightly ahead of Cam. So let's say we got that group for Seth Ryder, Jake Birtwhistle, Sam Appleton, Marc Dubrick, those guys who are the front group. And Magnus is going to come through first, and they're probably going to stick on with Magnus for a bit. They're not going to, he will drop them, okay? But they're going to get that slight boost. So they'll get a bit of a boost in speed, which means the time it'll take for Magnus to pull away will get longer. Then at some point, Cam Worth's going to come through and they're going to do the same thing, which is going to give them even more of an opportunity to get closer to Magnus, which means that because what Magnus, he's great, but he's not running as fast as some of those guys. He's not running as fast as Jay Whistle. Yeah, I guess I'm wondering, yes, you're right. Don't worry about Cam. And I don't think you have to worry about necessarily Cam as the athlete. I think it's more what he can do to the race in
His
terms of
impact on the race, yeah.
correct. That's the thing I think that is going to maybe cause some disc. Plus, then it's also the Lionel and Sam thing because it's not just going to be those two. If then Sam Long comes through and then Lionel does, some of those guys who don't have the same bike power could almost piggyback their way quite well up the field and not end up with such a significant gap to say Magnus first off the bike. So I think that that's what I mean. This race is really, and then you've got like Max Newman or someone who, if he's fully fit, could outrun them all. Jake Birtwhistle, I think, could outrun them all. Trevor Foley, such a good bike runner, a terrible swimmer, but could also then be another one of these people that rides through and gives them another boost. Like they could almost, if it work, Magnus goes, they get a boost. Kiam goes, they get a boost. Lionel goes, they get a boost. Sam goes, they get a boost. Trevor goes, they get a boost. Oh, we're at the transition. Oh, we can all run a Rono 107 now and win the thing. So I think there's a lot of interest around the dynamics. Look, we're doing so well for time though. So let's just make our picks for the men's race. We'll go third, second, first each, and then we'll go the women's race quickly.
Yeah.
Third
Third
place.
place in the men's race, Lionel Sanders.
Third place in the men's race, Magnus Ditlev.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Second place, you got to go first on this one.
Second place in the men's race, I'm going to go to Jesus Christ. I'm going to go Seth Ryder.
Jake Birtwhistle.
Interesting. First place,
Magnus Ditlev.
Jake Birtwhistle.
Oh, there you go. Interesting.
I'm back in the Australian, mate. I'm back in the
There you go.
I mean,
There
to be
you
honest,
go.
I say
Okay.
that. I say that. I should just say Lionel. Like, to be honest, I don't. Fuck it. I'm saying Lionel. Lionel Sanders. There's my pick. I just need to back him. It's going to be Lionel will just he'll move them all down. Lionel, Jake, I'll keep Magnus third. Lionel, Jake, Magnus. That's my podium.
All right. Women's side of things.
Let's have a look. So, the big names we've got on this one: Paula Finlay, Lottie Williams, always
Yeah.
up there thereabouts. Chelsea Sodaro, Jackie Herring, Daniela Lewis, Tamara Jewett, Jocelyn McCauley. They're the big ones. I'm looking at Paula Finlay and I'm thinking that she's going to win the thing.
Yeah, so am I, to be honest. I think that when she's on, she's absolutely on. Defending champion, bike strength, just able to get a lead in T2 that others aren't able to match. And I can really see that being the case here as well. When you're a rider like she is, I think a race like this really suits her style. And she's proven with victories in the past that she's able to excel in this environment and this temperature and the heat. And so, yeah, I don't see anyone getting past her.
I just think that probably the course doesn't suit Chelsea Sodaro enough and it's not long enough. I think that she's going to probably struggle to Paula will ride faster than her and probably swim
Yeah.
faster than her as well. So I mean, I really struggle to see anybody beating Paula Finlay. Lottie Williams is a really good swimmer, so she'll be up the front. Jackie Herron's, been very good recently as well. Tamara Jewett, she's due a good race. We saw her a couple of years ago so strong, and it just hasn't happened again for a very long time. Her bike just seems to be going backwards. I don't know. Uh, I hope that we see her bring something. I'd love to see her run through the field for a podium. But based on recent form, I don't see it happening. So,
Yeah, whatever you said was probably golden, mate, but my headphones cut out for the entirety of that. So yeah, great work. I tend to agree with you.
okay, well, who are your picks, mate? Who are your picks for the women's race? Third place.
Um, Third place, Jackie Herring.
Good choice. Third place at
Yeah.
Chelsea Sodaro.
Second place, Chelsea Sodara.
Second place. Second place, Lottie Williams.
Yeah. Well, I think we both got the same first place, haven't we?
Paula Finlay, you can't copy me. Who's your first place?
Paula Finley's going to win the race. Paula Finley's going to win the race.
I would be surprised if she didn't, to be honest. Yeah, there's some really, it's a really good field, mate. Both men's and women's race are really good. I mean, no, I just think that men's race is so fascinating because you haven't got that one obvious person where I think in the women's race you kind of do. But
Yeah.
there's still so much stuff that could happen that women's race is going to make it really, really interesting. So,
Yeah,
mate,
agreed.
yeah, I'm pretty keen to follow this one.
Agreed.
Mate, it's been a all over the place episode this week. I'm definitely sure people will be glad for the time codes on YouTube.
Yeah, we
If
really have. We really covered some ground, eh?
Hey, look, I'm looking. I've got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven different time codes. So, for people playing along at home, James, if you want to tell them if they want to find out more about talking triathlon, where do they need to go?
If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at T100 on Instagram. I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. We are on Instagram as at Talking Triathlon. If you want to join the Patreon group, you'll get access to the monthly bonus episodes and the social group. Plus, we'll put you in the WhatsApp group, which is a never-ending source of instant triathlon knowledge. And if you want to leave a note or comment and you're not part of the Patreon group, then leave a comment on the YouTube video because that's where we're more likely to see them and respond.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube, really good conversations this week again, which I appreciate. I'm sure there'll be plenty again this week. Again, plug my episode with Belinda Granger came out this week. So we've now got the Tyler episode, the Belinda episode of the Endurers is out, and it's Sky Munch next week. So yeah, please.
Exciting
Again,
times ahead.
everybody's got in touch. The feedback has been so positive. Thank you so much to everybody for sending messages and jumping on and subscribing and everything. It's really heartwarming. So thank you. I appreciate it. Just as I appreciate you, James Bale. Until next week, mate, I'll talk to you later.
Cheerio.